A security guard's snap judgment leads to a shocking revelation that changes everything. It was a bright Saturday morning in Charleston, South Carolina. The air was warm, with just a hint of the ocean breeze rolling through the cobblestone streets. A luxurious boutique hotel stood tall in the heart of downtown, a beacon of elegance with its sleek architecture and understated charm. This wasn't just any hotel. It was their hotel, the one they had poured their hearts and souls into creating. Amara and Desmond Jefferson stepped through the grand revolving doors of the Elmwood, dressed casually in jeans and crisp white shirts. Their confidence wasn't flashy. It was the quiet kind that spoke of hard work and perseverance. As they walked into the lobby, they exchanged warm smiles, taking a moment to admire the tranquil atmosphere. Guests lounged on plush sofas under the glow of modern chandeliers, sipping coffee and chatting quietly. "This place looks incredible," Amara said, her voice soft but full of pride. "The team's really outdone themselves." Desmond nodded, his eyes scanning the room with satisfaction. "They've made it feel like home. That's exactly what we wanted." But something was slightly off. Just as they moved toward the reception desk to greet their staff, they noticed a tall figure standing near the corner, staring at them intently. It was a new security guard, his uniform sharp and his posture rigid. He was watching them like a hawk, his hand resting firmly on the radio clipped to his belt. Desmond raised an eyebrow, but didn't say anything. "Must be the new guy," he murmured under his breath. They continued walking, their steps measured and calm, but the guard's gaze didn't waver. In fact, as they got closer, he began to move toward them, his expression hard and unreadable. Amara glanced at Desmond. "Is he coming toward us?" Desmond gave her a reassuring look, but even he couldn't deny the tension in the air. The atmosphere had shifted, but neither of them knew just how much this moment was about to test everything they stood for. The security guard, whose name tag read Brennan, walked straight toward Amara and Desmond, his jaw tight, his posture commanding. He was young, maybe late 20s, with a no-nonsense attitude that seemed out of place in the hotel's warm and inviting atmosphere. His eyes flicked up and down, sizing them up in a way that made Amara's stomach tighten. "Excuse me," Brennan said sharply, stepping directly into their path. "This area is for hotel guests only." Desmond blinked, momentarily caught off guard. "I'm sorry, what?" "I said," Brennan repeated, his tone growing firmer. "This area is for guests only. If you're not staying here, I'm going to have to ask you to leave." Amara's brow furrowed. "We're not—" Brennan held up a hand, cutting her off. "I've seen this before," he said, his voice laced with a smug certainty. "People walking in, pretending they belong here. It's not happening today." For a moment, Amara and Desmond were too stunned to respond. They weren't used to being treated this way, especially not in their own hotel. Amara took a deep breath, trying to steady her rising frustration. "Look," she said, keeping her voice calm. "There's been a misunderstanding. I'm not interested in excuses," Brennan snapped, cutting her off again. His voice had risen slightly, drawing the attention of a few guests nearby. A couple seated by the fireplace glanced over, their conversations halting as they tried to piece together what was happening. Desmond held up a hand, his own patience beginning to wear thin. "First of all," he said, his tone steady but firm, "you're being incredibly rude. Second, You need to leave," Brennan said, stepping even closer, his hand hovering near his radio. "I'm not going to ask again." Amara clenched her jaw, feeling the heat of embarrassment creep up her neck. She could see the way other guests were looking at them, some confused, others uncomfortable. The humiliation was palpable, and for a split second, she wondered how they had ended up in this position. Desmond finally stepped forward, his voice cold and measured. "We're not going anywhere," he said. "You have no idea who you're talking to." The tension in the room was thick, and the security guard's confidence faltered. But instead of backing down, he doubled down. This wasn't just a misunderstanding anymore. It was about to become something much bigger. Brennan squared his shoulders, his face hardening as if Desmond's words were a challenge. "I don't care who you are," he said, his tone sharper now. "If you don't leave, I'll have to call the authorities." Amara felt her pulse quicken. The audacity of it all. Being confronted like this, in their own hotel, by someone who didn't even know who he was dealing with. She placed a hand gently on Desmond's arm, a silent plea for him to stay calm. "Call the authorities," Desmond said, his voice dangerously low. "Go ahead. Make that call. And while you're at it, let's bring the manager over too." Brennan hesitated, a flicker of doubt crossing his face. But it was gone in an instant. "You think I'm bluffing?" he shot back, reaching for his radio. "I don't tolerate troublemakers." Before he could say another word, a voice cut through the tension like a knife. "What's going on here?" All eyes turned toward the manager, a middle-aged woman named Evelyn, who had just stepped out of the adjoining hallway. Her eyes scanned the scene, taking in Brennan's defensive posture and the expressions on Amara and Desmond's faces, calm on the surface, but with an unmistakable edge of anger. "Evelyn," Desmond said, his voice steady but pointed. "Care to explain why your new hire thinks it's okay to harass us in our own hotel?" The color drained from Evelyn's face. Her eyes widened as recognition hit her like a freight train. "Oh my, Mr. and Mrs. Jefferson," she stammered, her voice full of alarm. "I am so sorry. I had no idea." "Wait," Brennan interrupted, his confusion evident now. "What are you talking about?" Evelyn shot him a glare that could have frozen ice. "They're the owners," she said, enunciating each word like it was a revelation Brennan needed to absorb. "They own the hotel." The realization hit Brennan like a brick wall. His face turned pale, and he stepped back, stumbling over his words. I didn't know. I thought—" "You thought what?" Desmond cut in, his voice steady but brimming with controlled anger. "That we didn't belong here. That we couldn't possibly be the people who built this place." Brennan's mouth opened and closed, but no words came out. The guests in the lobby, who had been quietly observing the scene, began murmuring amongst themselves. Some looked embarrassed for the guard. Others looked outright disgusted. Evelyn turned to Brennan, her voice tight with fury. "This behavior is unacceptable. You're done here. Pack your things and leave immediately." "But—" Brennan tried to protest, but Evelyn silenced him with a raised hand. "No excuses. Get out." As Brennan walked away, head hung low, the weight of his actions visibly sinking in, the room remained tense. The damage had been done, but the Jeffersons weren't about to let it end there. They knew this moment required more than just an apology. As Brennan disappeared through the staff door, the tension in the room still lingered, thick and uncomfortable. Evelyn turned back to Amara and Desmond, her face etched with remorse. "I don't even know where to start," she said, her voice trembling slightly. "This is not what we stand for. I'm so sorry this happened." Desmond crossed his arms, his jaw set in a firm line. "Evelyn, we trusted you to manage this place in line with our values. This hotel was built to welcome everyone. How did someone like that even get hired?" Amara added softly, but no less firmly. "This isn't just a bad hire. It's a reflection of the gaps in how we're screening and training our staff. That's what makes this even harder to stomach." Evelyn nodded quickly, her hands clasped tightly in front of her. "You're absolutely right. I take full responsibility for this. Brennan didn't even make it through his full training yet, but I'll admit, I overlooked some things in a rush to fill the position. That won't happen again." The couple shared a glance, their disappointment still evident, but laced with a mutual understanding. Amara sighed, brushing a stray curl from her face. "We appreciate you stepping in the way you did. But this isn't just about today. It's about ensuring this kind of treatment doesn't happen to anyone else, guest or owner." Evelyn nodded again, her expression resolute now. I'll make it right, I promise. I'll organize mandatory training sessions for all staff, effective immediately. And I'll personally oversee the hiring process moving forward. Desmond's face softened slightly, though his voice remained firm. Good. But this isn't just about fixing what's broken. It's about setting a higher standard. Evelyn opened her mouth to respond, but Amara cut in gently. Let's step into the office, she said. This is a conversation we need to have privately. As they moved toward the back office, Evelyn glanced at the lobby, where guests were beginning to relax again. Some nodded respectfully toward the Jeffersons as they passed, their faces a mix of apology and admiration. But even as the couple walked out of sight, their hearts still weighed heavy. It wasn't just a bad hire or a tense moment. It was a painful reminder of the biases they were fighting to dismantle, even in their own sanctuary. In the quiet of the office, away from the murmurs of the lobby, Amara and Desmond settled into the chairs across from Evelyn. The room was modern and minimalistic, with sleek furniture and a large window that overlooked the bustling streets of Charleston. Yet despite the serene setting, the atmosphere inside was heavy with unspoken emotions. Evelyn took a deep breath, breaking the silence. I owe you both more than an apology. I let my guard down, and it resulted in someone bringing their prejudices into this space. I failed you, and I failed our guests. Desmond leaned forward, resting his elbows on the desk. Evelyn, this hotel is more than just a business to us. It's a symbol, a place where everyone, no matter who they are or where they come from, should feel like they belong. Amara added, her voice steady but filled with emotion. Do you know how humiliating it is to be treated like an intruder in the space you built? And not just for us. What if that had been one of our guests? What if they were treated the way we were today? Evelyn nodded slowly, her face flushed with guilt. I understand. And I know that words alone won't fix this. I'll take immediate steps to address the gaps, training, better hiring processes, more accountability. But I also want to hear what you both need from me to make this right. Amara glanced at Desmond, who gave a slight nod, signaling for her to continue. We want every member of this staff, from top to bottom, to understand that this isn't just a job. It's a responsibility. Every guest who walks through those doors deserves respect, no questions asked. And if anyone doesn't align with that, they don't belong here. Desmond leaned back, his voice softening but still firm. It's not just about fixing this incident. It's about building a culture that prevents it from happening again. That starts with you, Evelyn. We're trusting you to take this as seriously as we do. Evelyn's eyes glistened, but she blinked quickly, holding her composure. You have my word. I'll do whatever it takes to restore your trust and ensure this place reflects your vision. Amara and Desmond exchanged a glance. There was still an ache in their hearts, but they could see Evelyn's sincerity. It wouldn't erase what had happened, but it was a step in the right direction. The conversation had ended, but the impact of the moment lingered. For the Jeffersons, this wasn't just about solving a problem. It was about reinforcing the values they had built their lives around. Later that evening, as the hotel buzzed quietly with its usual rhythm, Amara and Desmond sat together in their private suite, overlooking the city skyline. The sunset cast a golden glow over the room, but neither of them seemed focused on the view. Their minds were still replaying the events of the day. I keep thinking about what would have happened if we weren't the owners, Amara said softly, her hands wrapped around a cup of tea. If it had been someone else, a guest who didn't have the power to speak up, would Brennan have gotten away with it? Desmond leaned back in his chair, his expression thoughtful. Probably, he admitted. It's hard to think about, but that's the reality. Too many people like him operate on assumptions, and too many people stay silent when it happens. Amara sighed, setting her cup down on the coffee table. It's exhausting, Des. Even here, in a place we created, we're reminded that we can't escape it. But that's why we built this, Desmond said firmly, leaning forward. To create something better, to prove that spaces like this can exist, and to show that when things go wrong, they can be fixed, with accountability and real action. Amara gave a small nod, her lips curving into a faint smile. You're right. We can't control every situation, but we can control how we respond to it. They sat in silence for a moment, the weight of their shared determination filling the space. Then Amara picked up her phone and opened the hotel's staff group chat. Mandatory meeting tomorrow morning, she typed. We're addressing what happened today and setting new standards moving forward. Desmond watched her, a flicker of pride in his eyes. What are you thinking? I'm thinking we need to make sure every single person on our team knows what we stand for, she said, her voice steady. And that no one feels afraid to call out behavior that doesn't align with it. Desmond nodded. We should make it personal. Share a bit about why we started this hotel in the first place. Maybe if they understand our journey, they'll see why this place matters so much. Amara smiled at him, a genuine warmth returning to her face. Good idea. We'll make it clear that this isn't just a business. It's a reflection of who we are. As the sun dipped below the horizon, the Jeffersons felt a renewed sense of purpose. They couldn't undo what had happened, but they could turn it into something meaningful, and they intended to do just that. The next morning, the staff gathered in the conference room, a spacious, well-lit area that felt more like a collaborative hub than a formal meeting space. Amara and Desmond stood at the front, their presence commanding yet approachable. Evelyn sat quietly to the side, her notebook open, ready to take notes. Thank you all for coming on such short notice, Amara began, her voice calm but resolute. What happened yesterday was unacceptable. It was a failure, not just of one individual, but of the culture we're trying to build here. Desmond stepped in, his tone steady. This hotel wasn't built on luxury alone. It was built on inclusivity, respect, and the belief that every single person who walks through those doors deserves to feel valued. When we lose sight of that, we lose everything we stand for. The room was silent. Staff members exchanged glances, their expressions ranging from curiosity to concern. Amara continued, her eyes scanning the room. We've decided to implement immediate changes. Evelyn will be leading mandatory training sessions on bias and inclusivity for every single staff member, no exceptions. And moving forward, the hiring process will include stricter measures to ensure that everyone who joins this team aligns with our values. Desmond added, but this isn't just about rules or policies. It's about accountability. If you ever see or experience something that goes against the principles of this hotel, speak up. You won't be punished for it. You'll be supported. A hand went up near the back of the room. It was from Jasmine, a long-time concierge who had worked with the Jeffersons since the hotel's opening. I just want to say thank you, she said, for addressing this head-on. It means a lot to all of us. Amara smiled, a genuine warmth in her expression. Thank you, Jasmine. We're all in this together. And if we hold ourselves and each other to the highest standard, this place will continue to be the haven we envisioned. After the meeting, as the staff dispersed, many stayed behind to personally thank Amara and Desmond. Some shared stories of their own experiences with prejudice, creating an atmosphere of solidarity and understanding. That evening, Amara and Desmond stood in the lobby, watching guests check in and staff move seamlessly through their routines. The tension from the day before had been replaced with a renewed energy, a sense of purpose that seemed to radiate from everyone. Desmond turned to Amara. Do you think it's enough? He asked quietly. Amara took his hand, squeezing it gently. It's a start, and that's all we need right now. The lesson from this story is simple yet profound. Real change begins with acknowledgement, and accountability. Bias and prejudice exist in every corner of society, but when they're confronted head-on, they lose their power. The Jeffersons turned a painful experience into an opportunity to lead by example, proving that even in the face of injustice, progress is possible. If this story resonated with you, let's continue the conversation. Share your thoughts in the comments. Have you ever experienced or witnessed something similar? How did you handle it? Don't forget to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and hit the notification bell so you don't miss more stories like this. Let's build a community that stands for respect, inclusivity, and meaningful change. Thank you for watching.